pretty bad, and they're drawing all the attention. Maybe just to make a little bit more space to fire back.
Oh, Flash has got a second one on the mortar, by the way. What? Somehow that guy's been on point with the mortar twice this game. PMA now really feeling the pressure from FTF. They tried to stop Walkerin from getting that off angle in the field, but that might have been what secures FTF the win here. Happy pushing up the stairs. He has to be on point, and Tian has absolutely no idea. The rest of PMA stuck in the bottom floor, and then there's one of them on the outside on the ridge, but I think he's just been taken down too. It's only one back from PMA, and FTF shredded. Sorry, they shred PMA there. That is what I was talking about. So hard to play that Wizard Tower if you don't weaken the teams around you. And guess what? FTF had 4 up taking that fight against PMA.
Wow, the coordination was insane coming in from the side of from the future, where we saw how they try to draw the attention away and then start to have a couple of members to close in. So quick thinking have gotten them all the way into the top 4, and with pretty healthy numbers to work with, Daytrade still in the game. Well, we have a slightly weakened side for the side of AG as well as RS. We'll see how they're going to be able to fare. Norin's now spots one out, and June.
Oh, come on.
Oh, he finally.
There we go.
I was concerned if they're going to be able to trade back, but there goes. Norin's once again. Gotta start hitting those Dragunov shots. Not going to be able to do so. And he's pretty protective of himself. He's making sure that he gets himself fully boosted up, while Norin's will be able to eventually secure the point onto June. At least he's garnered enough information on the side of Reluctant Esports, but dealing with FTF, that's going to be a problem for later.
Yeah, well, I feel like they could probably ignore Reluctant Squad here and just drive across the road, but it depends on whether or not they know about Riz. I think they know that someone's potentially over there. I believe one of the FTF players sent it that way as well, and Riz then killed that FTF player. So Daytrade should know that there's at least one player on their eastern side, and that might be what's making them hesitate just a little bit here. But I like how they're playing this. Dealing with Jun as the front man is incredibly important for Daytrade right now. It's also allowed FTF to kind of leave the safety of the other side of the road. I mean, the circle's no longer over there. They've left Samoy as the anchor man, and the rest of them have taken the fight straight towards Dynasty, who's done a ton of damage on that entry, but so has Reluctant Squad. This could be Dynasty's moment to shine right now. He's going to steal one away. Sees Samoy pulling up. There's another one in that smoke. Does he know about that second player? If he does, potentially he can get him. No utility to speak of that's going to do any damage. No mollies, no nades. He's just got to work with his weapon, and in the meantime, the rest of Daytrade try to take out the rest of Reluctant.
Yeah, this seems to be Daytrade's game to lose right now, because they have FTF being occupied and being brought down to only 1. And it's going to be a showing between 4 versus 1. FTF here slightly on the back foot, but who knows if he could basically pull off something miraculous. So, Chimoy, what does he have left in the tank with the entirety of Daytrade Gaming closing in and will secure chicken dinner number 2 of the evening?
I mean, that's Daytrade, right? That is the Daytrade we know. That's the Daytrade we love to see. It was a dominant late game performance. I'm going to have a look at the Twire after it updates, because I want to know what they were doing on that southern side, because unfortunately we didn't really get to see much of them throughout that game. It was a lot of all the action that was happening on the north, right? We got to see basically all of that, and Daytrade were just playing in the shadows on the southern side for most of the time. But that's totally fine. You know, I'm happy to not see them if they're going to then come out in the late game and completely dominate it. They had that high ground. They had that shack. They had all the information as well, to be fair to you. Once Orcarin sent it across that road and died to Riz, that's all information gathered for Daytrade. Then they can start creating their end game plan. Then they can start creating kind of contingencies as well. What if FTF sent it across the road? The circle is now off them. What can we do with that? Perfectly played from Daytrade, but of course, the highlights from that game, I don't think it was exciting as game 1, if you ask me. It was a lot of chaos, but game 1 was some really good pure PUBG. Right here, it was teams struggling to kind of find spots in zone that weren't occupied, and as that zone as well, that late game zone kept popping from north and went all the way down south. It kept going south and south and south and south and south, and just made it so much harder for everyone to get involved.
I do agree. This seemed to be a lot more grueling into playing for positioning for most part, but we saw instances like these, like Dopeness trying to actually close some of all these opportunities, but Four is definitely reacted for instances like these, like Dopeness I saw a few of these battles, and they managed to also clear up a lot of all these teams from the south side. But what I really do like is their approach on how they've been able to zone off RS completely and have that bird's eye view onto the movements from the future. So they didn't really have to have too much of that commitment hitting into the far eastern side of the map until much later on. So well played overall coming from Daytrade, what we did expect coming from the Thai Titans of the region.
Yeah, I also want to give full credit to FTF. You got to remember, they were the ones who started out on that northern side next to the observatory hill and just fought their way down, just no matter what, right? They were fighting their way through every single team. Nice 3K from Jun, by the way, very well composed. And of course, PMA here. Another excellently played moment from FTF. They just completely destroyed PMA, who were on the back foot. Granted, FTF definitely had the momentum in their favor in that moment, but very, very well fought from FTF. If FTF won that, that's one of those almost perfect games of PUBG, because you're fighting all the way until the very end, and then you get the win too. It's just a very cathartic moment, but unfortunately, Daytrade were there to steal it away from them.
Yeah, and of course, unfortunate for FTF, where they were basically forced to make that rotation that leaves them pretty much out in the open without much spacing for them to take cover. And also having that one member coming, which I do believe was AG, to be holding down the far eastern corner, and they didn't really have much to work with right there. So I guess 18 points, more than good enough from how From the Future have been taking so many battles to secure this top 2 position, and it's definitely Daytrade here with the maximum points of 21 by the end of the game.
Yeah, it's stellar performance from Daytrade. Maybe a little bit missing in game 1, but certainly not in game 2. It's the sign of a team that can reset their mental and take it game by game, essentially. I don't think they have to reset their mental. It's just them taking it game by game. Every game is a new opportunity to claim a win. They do so in game 2. Yeah, 18 points definitely deserved from FTF. It's another game for Armory, though, where I feel like they probably could have got a lot more. The position that Riz had on the edge there, imagine if they had 3 or 4 up in that spot, right? The amount of damage they could do in that late game. They would potentially have even forced FTF off rotating towards where Riz was, and they might have forced FTF into Daytrade. And at that point, it's Armour Gaming's game to win, right?
Like Armour Gaming, they were in a really good position in that sense. Like if they did have that manpower, I would certainly agree. They could potentially take off FTF in some of all these altercations that is being said. But let's take a look at the total leaderboard right now. It is a tie between Daytrade as well as FTF. Okay, we're already starting off on a really tense note here for some of these guys. And on second, on third, fourth, as well as fifth, they're all within touching distance as well.
Yeah, it's a very tight top 6. It's a top 6 that's separated by 4 points, which is absolutely excellent and exactly what you want to see for this tournament. We don't want this tournament to be a top 8 that's going to be set by the